The Galactic Empire of the Volturian hegemony had dominated 17 star systems for over 3,000 years. They had subjugated 47 sentient species, crushed 212 rebellions, and had never once considered humans to be anything more than mildly annoying bipeds with an inexplicable fondness for cats and reality television. Which is why when they decided to publicly execute Jenny Hartwell on their galaxy-wide propaganda channel, they didn't think twice about it. Actually, they didn't even think once about it. The order came straight from Emperor Vexlar himself, a 12-foot-tall insectoid with a god complex and a notorious dislike for species that couldn't regenerate limbs. Citizens of the glorious Volturian hegemony, boomed the announcer's voice across trillions of screens throughout the galaxy. Today we bring you justice. This human female has been found guilty of attempting to access secured Imperial mainframes, spreading seditious content, and worst of all, claiming that Emperor Vexlar's exoskeleton makes him look fat. The cameras panned to Jenny, a small human woman with bright blue hair and a defiant smirk. She stood bound in energy restraints on the execution platform, looking thoroughly unimpressed by the whole spectacle. "Any final words, human filth?" demanded Grand Executor Krivnax, his mandibles clicking in anticipation. Jenny looked directly into the camera, her green eyes sparkling with what appeared to be amusement rather than fear. "I'd just like to remind everyone watching that humans have a saying, don't start what you can't finish. Oh, and your firewall security is garbage. Like seriously, my grandmother could have hacked it, and she thinks copy-pasting is witchcraft." The Grand Executor chittered in rage. "Your insolence will not be remembered, human. Your species will remain an insignificant footnote in the glorious annals of the hegemony." Jenny's smile widened. "You guys really don't know anything about humans, do you? We're like cockroaches, but with opposable thumbs and a vindictive streak. You've got about 47 minutes before you figure out exactly how bad you've messed up." The Grand Executor laughed, a sound like rusty nails in a food processor. "Activate the molecular destabilizer." With theatrical flourish, he pressed the big red button that apparently all species across the galaxy independently evolved to indicate execute prisoner. A beam of purple light enveloped Jenny Hartwell, her form dissolving into glittering particles. But just before she completely disappeared, the transmission picked up her final words, "Countdown initiated. Nice knowing you, suckers." Throughout the galaxy, billions of beings watched as the human woman disintegrated into nothingness. The Imperial announcer was already moving on to list the daily production quotas when something unusual happened. For just a fraction of a second, every screen throughout the hegemony flickered. Most didn't notice. A few technicians frowned, and somewhere on a distant space station, an alarm started beeping. Captain Maxwell. Max Thunderbolt was having a terrible day even before he watched his little sister get vaporized on live broadcast. First, the ship's coffee synthesizer had broken again, producing a substance that resembled engine coolant both in color and taste. Then his pilot, Rocket Rodriguez, had nearly crashed them into an asteroid because he was trying to beat his own record at Galactic Drift Racer 5000. And now this. "They killed her," he whispered, staring at the screen where Jenny's face had been moments before. The broadcast had already moved on to advertisements for discount cybernetic upgrades. Those six-legged exoskeleton-wearing antenna-twitching bastards. Max slammed his fist against the wall, leaving a dent in the metal. "Captain, your blood pressure," warned Dr. Olivia Quantum, the ship's physician and resident voice of reason. A tall woman with silver hair despite being only 35, she was already reaching for her medical scanner. "Forget my blood pressure. They just executed Jenny. On their stupid propaganda channel." Max's face had turned an alarming shade of crimson. From the corner of the ship's common room, a gravelly voice spoke up. "I told you we should have broken her out of that prison planet when we had the chance." This came from Brick, the team's 7-foot-tall muscle mountain with a heart of gold and a brain of, well, something considerably less valuable than gold. "Oh, like your plan to disguise yourself as a Volturian guard would have worked," snapped technician Fizz Whizbang, their green-haired tech expert who was frantically typing on 3 different holographic keyboards simultaneously. "You can't even pronounce exoskeleton without spraining your tongue." "Exoskeleton," Brick attempted, then frowned. "Enough." Max cut them all off. Jenny knew what she was doing. That message she sent us last week. She said if anything happened to her, we should be ready. The ship's AI, Dave Digitally Advanced Vehicular Entity, chimed in with an artificially cheerful voice. "Captain, I'm detecting an encrypted transmission being broadcast on frequency 47B. It appears to originate from the Imperial execution chamber." Everyone froze. "That's impossible," Fizz said, her fingers hovering over her keyboards. "Jenny was just we all saw." "Open the transmission, Dave," Max ordered. The main screen flickered to life, And there was Jenny's face, grinning that infuriating little sister grin that Max knew all too well. "Hey bro," the recording said. "If you're watching this, I've probably just been dramatically executed. Very theatrical, right? Anyway, don't go avenging me just yet. I've got a little surprise planned for our bug-faced friends. Remember that virus I was working on, the one you said would never work, because the Empire's systems were too advanced? Well, turns out they're running on the galactic equivalent of Windows Vista." Max's mouth dropped open. "I uploaded it before they caught me. Now it's spreading through every system in the hegemony. Defense grids, communication networks, life support systems, even their precious coffee synthesizers." Jenny's recorded image winked. "But I need your help for the final phase. I've attached coordinates where you'll find some friends of mine. You have exactly 47 minutes from my execution. Don't be late." The screen went blank. Rocket, a lanky man with pilot goggles permanently affixed to his forehead, swiveled in his chair. Did your sister just orchestrate her own death as part of some elaborate hack?" Max's shock was rapidly transforming into a mixture of pride and exasperation. "That sounds exactly like something Jenny would do." "Captain," Dave interrupted, "those coordinates point to the abandoned mining outpost on Ceti Alpha 9, and we have 43 minutes remaining." Max straightened his jacket, eyes gleaming with newfound determination. "Rocket, set course for Ceti Alpha 9. Brick, prep the weapons. Fizz, I need you to track whatever digital chaos Jenny has unleashed. Dr. Quantum, stand by with that blood pressure medication. I have a feeling this is going to be one hell of a ride." As the ship's engines roared to life, Max couldn't help but smile. The Voltorian hegemony had just made the biggest mistake in their 3,000-year history. They'd pissed off the wrong family. 39 minutes before the fall of the Voltorian hegemony, Grand Admiral Ziptark was enjoying his third cup of nutrient slurry when his office ceiling suddenly began raining sewage. "What in the 17 holy egg sacks of Voltoria is happening?" he screeched, antenna twitching furiously as he leaped from his chair. "Sir," his aide buzzed nervously through the intercom, "it appears all waste management systems in the Imperial Palace have reversed direction." Before Ziptark could respond, every screen in his office lit up with the face of the human they'd just executed. The image winked at him. "Hey there, bug boys," Jenny's recording said cheerfully. "Bet you're wondering how a dead girl is talking to you right now. Short answer, you're not as smart as you think you are. Long answer, I've been planning this for years." Across the hegemony, the same message was playing on every screen, in every ship, on every planet under Voltorian control. "See, 3 years ago, you guys conquered Earth's outer colonies. No big deal, right? Just another insignificant species to add to your collection. Except you made one tiny miscalculation." The recording paused dramatically. "You killed my parents." In the Imperial War Room, Emperor Vexlar himself watched with growing horror as the human continued. "Mom was a quantum physicist. Dad was a network security specialist. They taught me everything they knew. And then I learned more. When your soldiers blasted their research station, I made a promise, I would take down your entire empire." Dramatic, right? But us humans have a flair for the theatrical. Jenny's face grew serious. "Here's what you don't know about humans. We're stubborn, we're vindictive, and we're really good at holding grudges. For 3 years I worked my way through your systems. Your security was designed to keep out other insectoid species with your same logical patterns. But humans, we think sideways." On the Imperial flagship, alarms began blaring as navigation systems sent the massive vessel on a collision course with its own escort ships. "My virus isn't just shutting down your systems," Jenny explained. "It's reprogramming them from the inside out. And here's the fun part. I designed it to activate fully exactly 47 minutes after my execution." "Why 47? It was my dad's favorite number. Said it was the most random seeming of all numbers. Plus it gave me time for this little chat." In orbital defense stations throughout the hegemony, weapons systems suddenly powered up, targeting the very planets they were meant to protect. "Oh, and did I mention the back door I installed in your clone production facilities?" Jenny's image smiled sweetly. "Those new batches of elite guards you've been deploying for the past 6 months, I tweaked their loyalty programming just a smidge. They think your royal purple exoskeleton markings are actually the sign of a dangerous insurgent." Emperor Vexlar glanced down at his purple-striped thorax just as his personal guard squad entered the room, weapons raised. "Sir," the Imperial Tech Chief reported to the Grand Admiral, "the human somehow uploaded herself into our network before the molecular destabilizer completed its cycle. She's not just a recording. Parts of her consciousness are spreading through our systems." "That's impossible," Ziptark shrieked. "No organic being can transfer consciousness into digital form. Apparently humans can. the tech chief clicked nervously. Her parents' research, it was theoretical work on human digital consciousness transfer. She completed it. Back on Captain Max's ship, the crew watched in awe as Fizz pulled up feed after feed of chaos erupting across the hegemony. Your sister, Fizz whispered reverently, is the most beautiful kind of crazy I've ever seen. 28 minutes until total system collapse, Dave announced. And we're approaching SETI Alpha 9. The mining outpost loomed ahead, a dilapidated structure carved into an asteroid. It looked abandoned, just as the official records claimed. But as they drew closer, a hangar door slowly creaked open, revealing a cavernous space filled with ships. Hundreds of ships. What the? Max began. His communicator crackled. Captain Thunderbolt, a voice asked. I'm Commander Patel of the Human Resistance. Your sister said you'd be coming. We've been waiting 3 years for this signal. Max stared at the fleet before him, vessels of every shape and size, all retrofitted with weapons. Jenny hadn't just created a virus, she'd been building an army. She always did like to be thorough, Max murmured. 23 minutes before the Voltorian hegemony collapsed, Field Marshal Krasvac was attempting to explain to the planetary governor of Nexus Prime why exactly half of their military fleet had just crashed into the ocean. It appears to be some sort of malfunction, the Field Marshal explained, his mandibles clicking nervously. The governor's compound eyeballs bulged with rage. A malfunction. Half our fleet is currently becoming artificial reef habitats. That's not a malfunction, that's a catastrophe. The field marshal was saved from having to respond when every light in the governor's palace suddenly shifted to hot pink and started pulsing to the rhythm of an ancient human disco song called Stayin' Alive. Across the 17 star systems, the same pattern was emerging. On Voltoria Prime, the automated food production facilities began churning out nothing but a gelatinous substance that smelled suspiciously like human peanut butter. On the mining world of Draxus III, all the excavation equipment had formed a conga line and was dancing its way toward the administrative offices. The most secure prison in the galaxy, Tartarus Station, experienced a total security failure, resulting in the release of every inmate, except the tax evaders, who found their cell doors had been triple locked with a note reading "Nice try, cheaters." Commander Patel's briefing room on SETI Alpha 9 was cramped but efficient. Holographic displays showed the escalating disasters throughout the hegemony. Max and his crew stood agape at the scale of what Jenny had set in motion. Your sister contacted us 3 years ago, Patel explained. She was a weathered woman with a cybernetic eye and the no-nonsense demeanor of someone who'd been fighting too long. Said she had a plan to bring down the Empire but needed to build a network first. We thought she was crazy until things started happening. What things? Asked Max. Small at first. Supply ships diverted to starving colonies. Security patrols led away from our hidden bases. Then bigger operations. Entire communication relays reprogrammed. Defense systems mysteriously failing when we needed to extract our people. Patel's expression was one of grudging respect. She built all this from the shadows. Impressive as that is, Dr. Quantum interjected. How exactly are we supposed to capitalize on this chaos? The Voltorians still outnumber us significantly, even with their systems failing. Patel smiled grimly. That's where Phase 2 comes in. 15 minutes from now, we launch a coordinated strike on key Imperial command centers. While their attention is divided trying to contain Jenny's digital assault, we hit them from the outside. On the main Imperial battlecruiser Indomitable Mandible, Vice Admiral Yorks was discovering that his fearsome dreadnought had been reprogrammed to play something called Duck Duck Goose with nearby asteroids. The massive warship would approach an asteroid, scan it, move to the next, scan it, and repeat until suddenly declaring goose and firing all weapons at it. Make it stop. The Vice Admiral shrieked as his gunners frantically tried to override the systems. Sir, a communications officer called. We've lost contact with 70% of our fleet, and the Imperial Center reports that the Emperor, what about the Emperor? Yorks demanded. He's been locked in his private refresher station for the past 20 minutes. The door mechanisms are jammed, and the entertainment system is blasting human operatic music at top volume. In that same locked refresher station, Emperor Vexlar, destroyer of worlds and supreme ruler of the hegemony, sat on his royal waste disposal unit, antennae drooping in defeat, as Ride of the Valkyries played for the 9th consecutive time. Back on Max's ship, now docked with the Resistance fleet, Fizz had patched into the Imperial networks to track Jenny's virus. It's incredible, she breathed, fingers dancing across her keyboards. The virus isn't just destroying, it's transforming. Military targeting systems are being repurposed to distribute food supplies. Communication networks are broadcasting resistance messages. And oh my god. What? Max leaned over her shoulder. Your sister's consciousness, the digitized version, it's evolving, growing. She's actively directing the virus now, adapting to their countermeasures in real time. Fizz looked up, eyes wide. She's literally becoming the network. Rocket, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly spoke up. Guys, I think we have a problem. He pointed to a flashing alert on one of Fizz's screens. Imperial reinforcements, a fleet that had been patrolling the outer systems and hadn't yet been affected by the virus, were heading straight for the Imperial Center. If they reconnect with the main Imperial network, Dr. Quantum began, they could isolate and purge Jenny's virus. Fizz finished. Max's jaw set in determination. Not if we stop them first. Commander Patel, I think we need to accelerate your timeline. How quickly can you get your fleet ready? Patel was already moving toward the exit. 5 minutes. But the assault plan required precision timing with Jenny's virus reaching critical mass. My sister may be a digital ghost in the machine now, but she's still family, Max said. And Thunderbolts don't abandon family. D-Ave. Open a channel to the Resistance fleet. Channel open, Captain, the AI responded. Max took a deep breath. This is Captain Max Thunderbolt. Some of you knew my sister Jenny. The rest of you have benefited from her work without knowing it. Right now she's fighting the entire Voltorian Empire from the inside, but she needs our help. In 17 minutes, either the hegemony falls or her sacrifice was for nothing. I don't know about you, but I'm betting on the human. A roar of approval came through the comms. Now let's go make some bugs very, very sorry. Max finished. As the Resistance fleet powered up, Max couldn't help but think that Jenny would have loved the dramatic timing of it all. 12 minutes before the Voltorian hegemony crumbled into the annals of galactic history, Emperor Vexillare finally escaped his musical bathroom prison. His once immaculate purple exoskeleton was smudged and dented where he desperately tried to claw through the reinforced door. The Imperial Emergency Response Team had eventually cut through the wall, only to find their Emperor in a most undignified position, crouched on his waste disposal unit with his secondary appendages covering what passed for Voltorian ears. Get me to the Imperial Command Center immediately, Vexillare hissed, his compound eyes reflecting murderous intent. And find me whoever is responsible for our security systems. The Emperor's fury only intensified when his elite guard escort promptly attempted to execute him in the palace corridor. Only the quick thinking of his personal shield-bearer saved the monarch from becoming royal bug splatter on the ornate walls. The shield-bearer was immediately promoted, then demoted, then promoted again as the palace administrative system glitched repeatedly. In the command center, pure chaos reigned. Officers scurried between malfunctioning consoles, their antennae quivering with stress. Holographic displays showed critical facilities across 17 star systems descending into various states of technologically induced madness. On one screen, an entire automated defense platform was performing what appeared to be ballet movements. On another, the central banking system was systematically transferring all Imperial reserves to a charity called Humans Without Borders. Status report, Vexillare demanded as he burst into the room, surrounded by the few guards whose loyalty programming hadn't been corrupted yet. Grand Admiral Ziptark, who had changed into a fresh uniform after the sewage incident, clicked his mandibles anxiously. Your Magnificence, we are experiencing difficulties. Difficulties. The Emperor's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Is that what you call a complete systemic collapse of our 3,000-year empire? Difficulties. We've identified the source, Your Magnificence, offered Chief Technician Bezd, a nervous drone with oversized optical implants. It appears the human female. I know about the human female. Vexillare shrieked, his exoskeleton almost vibrating with rage. What I want to know is how a single primitive biped managed to infiltrate our systems so thoroughly that we can't even flush our waste properly. The technician's antenna drooped. She apparently spent years building backdoors into our networks. And the virus she deployed, it's unlike anything we've encountered. It's adaptive, almost intelligent. Every countermeasure we attempt is anticipated and neutralized. Then isolate the systems. Vexillare commanded. Shut everything down and restart from secure backups. We tried, Your Magnificence. The backups are corrupted too. And when we attempt to isolate systems, they refuse to comply. As if to emphasize this point, the massive view screen at the front of the command center suddenly flickered to life. Jenny Hartwell's face appeared, pixelating slightly before stabilizing. Her blue hair seemed to float as if she were underwater, and her eyes now had a strange digital quality to them, code occasionally scrolling across her irises. Hello, Your Royal Bugness, Jenny said, her voice echoing strangely through the command center speakers. Having technical difficulties. Have you tried turning your empire off and on again? Emperor Vexillare stiffened, his segmented spine straightening to its full impressive height. You're supposed to be disintegrated into your component atoms. Yeah, about that. Jenny's digital projection smirked. Turns out when you guys developed that fancy molecular destabilizer, you didn't account for quantum consciousness transfer. My parents' life's work, by the way. Thanks for the motivation when you killed them. Vexillaire's compound eyes narrowed. What do you want, human? Resources? Power? Name your price to end this digital terrorism. Jenny's laugh echoed eerily through the room. Oh Vexy, can I call you Vexy? This isn't a negotiation, this is an extinction event for your empire, not for you personally. I'm not that cruel. You see, while we've been chatting, I've been busy rewiring your entire governmental structure. On cue, secondary screens around the command center lit up, showing Volturian colonies across the galaxy. But something was different. The enslaved species were rising up, and the Volturian authorities were helping them. What have you done? Vexillaire whispered in horror. I removed the loyalty and obedience programming you installed in every subject species. Jenny explained, almost conversationally. Turns out most sentient beings don't actually enjoy being enslaved. Who knew, right? Oh, and I may have tweaked your own species' neurological control implants, the ones you use to maintain your caste system. Your workers are currently experiencing this radical new concept called free will. They seem pretty excited about it. Alarms blared as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Volturian command structure was collapsing at a geometric rate as lower castes abandoned their posts or in many cases, enthusiastically joined the revolution. You can't do this. Vexillaire roared. The hegemony maintains order in the galaxy. Without us, there will be chaos. Actually, Jenny countered, I've been running simulations using your own predictive algorithms. Without the hegemony's oppression, cooperation between species increases by approximately 82%. Quality of life improves across all metrics. Art and science flourish. The only real downside is a sharp decrease in giant statues of you. At that moment, the command center doors blasted open in a shower of metal and sparks. Through the smoke strode Captain Max Thunderbolt, flanked by Brick and Rocket. Behind them came Fizz, fingers dancing across a portable control pad, and Dr. Quantum, medical scanner already assessing potential threats. A squad of resistance fighters secured the perimeter, weapons trained on the stunned Volturian officers. Hi there, Max said, casually pointing a very large plasma rifle at Emperor Vexillaire. I believe you've met my sister, though I guess met is understating it since you kind of executed her. Max. Jenny's digital projection brightened. Perfect timing. I'm at 94% system integration. The Imperial Reinforcement Fleet has been redirected to provide humanitarian aid to Sector 7, their weapons systems conveniently disabled. Oh, and I rewrote their navigation charts. They think the capital world is actually a black hole to be avoided at all costs. Max grinned at his digitized sister, always the overachiever. You miserable mammals. Emperor Vexillaire seethed. This is not over. The hegemony has contingencies for such situations. Activate Protocol Chrysalis. He shouted to his officers. Nothing happened. I said, activate Protocol Chrysalis. Vexillaire repeated, his voice rising to a desperate pitch. Grand Admiral Ziptark clicked nervously. Your Magnificence, we can't. All command functions have been locked out. Looking for this, Jenny's projection asked innocently as a holographic representation of a complex code sequence materialized beside her. Your Doomsday Protocol. Yeah, I found that on day 1. Amateur encryption really. I replaced it with a recipe for chocolate chip cookies. Much more useful to society. Emperor Vexillaire's mighty exoskeleton seemed to deflate as the last vestiges of his power evaporated before his compound eyes. 3,000 years of Volturian dominance, ended by a single human with a grudge and exceptional coding skills. You know what the funny thing is? Jenny continued, her digital form expanding to fill the entire command center ceiling, code streaming through her now translucent body. You could have just left Earth alone. We were perfectly happy watching our reality shows and petting our cats. But no, you had to go and conquer our colonies. Classic villain mistake, always picking fights with the species that looks harmless, but has an extremely developed survival instinct, and a knack for holding grudges. Max stepped forward, coming face to mandible with the fallen emperor. So what should we do with you? Jenny and I were thinking something poetic, maybe a nice terrarium on Earth. You could be an educational exhibit. Here lies the former ruler of 17 star systems, defeated by a girl with a laptop. Vexillaire's antenna drooped in complete surrender. 3 millennia of Voltorian evolutionary instinct, recognized when a predator had won. 6 minutes to complete system integration, Jenny announced cheerfully from above. Max, you might want to prepare for the grand finale. I'm about to rewrite the fundamental operational parameters of the entire hegemony. Rocket leaned over to Brick. Is it weird that I find digital Jenny kind of hot? Brick considered this. Yes, he decided firmly. Very weird. Fizz meanwhile had plugged into the command center systems. This is incredible, she breathed. Jenny's consciousness has expanded exponentially. She's not just controlling the systems, she's redefining them at their base code level. In English please, Max asked. Your sister is basically becoming a god. Fizz clarified. A digital one, but still. Doctor. Quantum frowned, medical scanner still humming. Is that safe? For her I mean. The human consciousness wasn't designed to expand to such parameters. On the ceiling Jenny's digital form flickered momentarily. For just a second, something like pain crossed her features before the confident smile returned. Jenny? Max asked, suddenly concerned. Are you okay up there? Never better, big brother, she replied. But her voice glitched slightly. Just experiencing some growing pains. Turns out becoming one with an empire's worth of networked systems is a bit of a stretch, even for a thunderbolt. Commander Patel's voice came through on Max's communicator. Captain, Resistance forces have secured 82% of critical Imperial facilities. The subject species are rising up everywhere, and most Voltorian forces are surrendering without a fight. It's working. As they watched, the command center's displays showed scene after scene of liberation across the galaxy. 17 star systems, 47 species, all simultaneously breaking free from 3,000 years of oppression. 3 minutes remaining, Jenny announced, her digital form pulsing with each passing second. Almost there. Emperor Vexillaire, watching his life's work crumble before him, finally found his voice again. You think this is victory, humans? Your sister's consciousness can't possibly contain the entirety of our networks. She'll fragment, dissipate into nothing. She's sacrificing herself for a momentary triumph. Max's expression hardened as he turned back to the fallen emperor. The truth of Vexillaire's words was reflected in Jenny's increasingly unstable digital projection. Maybe, Max acknowledged, his voice tight. But here's the thing about humans, you still don't understand. He stepped closer, towering over the now diminished emperor. We're big on self-sacrifice when it comes to family freedom and making sure pompous tyrants get exactly what's coming to them. Above them, Jenny's massive digital face smiled down at her brother, a single pixelated tear escaping her eye. 1 minute, she announced, her voice echoing throughout the command center. Max, it's time for you to leave. Things are about to get interesting. The sky above the former imperial capital was no longer the oppressive red it had been for 3 millennia. Now it shimmered with a kaleidoscope of colors, blues and greens and purples dancing in patterns too beautiful to be random, yet too complex to be designed by conventional means. The locals called it Jenny's Aurora, though no one could explain exactly how the atmospheric phenomenon had started, or why it consistently formed patterns that looked suspiciously like smiling human faces when viewed from certain angles. 47 minutes after the execution of Jenny Hartwell, the Voltorian hegemony had ceased to exist. 47 days later, something new and unprecedented had taken its place. Captain Maxwell Thunderbolt stood on the balcony of what had once been the Imperial Palace, now repurposed as the headquarters for the Galactic Cooperative. Below him stretched gardens where representatives of all 47 formerly subjugated species mingled freely, their various appendages gesturing animatedly as they discussed everything from trade agreements to cultural exchanges. A group of Arcturian children, their first generation born in freedom, were playing an improvised game with young Voltorians, their historical enmity forgotten in the universal language of childhood mischief. She would have loved this view, said a voice behind him. Doctor. Olivia Quantum joined him at the railing, her silver hair now streaked with additional gray. The events of the past month and a half had taken their toll on all of them. She can see it, Max replied with quiet certainty. She sees everything now. The evidence was everywhere, in the impossibly efficient new transportation systems that connected the 17 star systems, in communication networks that somehow anticipated needs before they were expressed, in environmental controls that had transformed once barren worlds into burgeoning gardens. Throughout the former hegemony, systems worked with an organic fluidity that suggested something or someone was actively guiding them with both technical precision and creative intuition. The latest diagnostics confirm it, Dr. Quantum said, passing Max a datapad. Her consciousness signature is stable, distributed, but stable. Whatever she did in those final seconds, it worked. Max remembered those chaotic final moments all too clearly. Jenny's digital form expanding, fragmenting, then seemingly dissolving into the very fabric of the Imperial networks. The command center's systems overloading in cascades of sparks and light. His crew dragging him to safety as the entire Imperial complex underwent what Fizz later described as a digital supernova with Jenny at the center. When they'd returned hours later, the physical infrastructure remained intact, but everything digital had been fundamentally transformed. And Jenny, at least the Jenny they had known, was gone. "Captain," Rocket's excited voice came through Max's communicator. "You need to get to the central hub immediately. Something's happening." The central hub had once been Emperor Vexlar's throne room. Now it housed the most advanced quantum computing array ever assembled, partly constructed from the remnants of Imperial technology, partly from human ingenuity, and partly from designs that had seemingly appeared in the system overnight. Beyond the understanding of even the most brilliant engineers, Max and Dr. Quantum arrived to find Fizz hunched over a console, her green hair now grown long enough to be tied back in a practical ponytail. Rocket paced nearby, while Brick stood guard at the door, his massive frame blocking the view of curious passers-by. "What's happening?" Max asked, slightly out of breath from the sprint through the palace corridors. Fizz looked up, her eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "She's consolidating. For weeks Jenny's consciousness has been spread throughout the entire network, present everywhere but focused nowhere. But now she's drawing herself together." The massive holographic display that dominated the center of the room flickered to life. At first it showed only swirling patterns of code and light, beautiful but abstract. Then gradually, the patterns began to coalesce, forming the outline of a human figure. Details emerged: blue hair, green eyes, the unmistakable smirk that had so infuriated Emperor Vexlar in her final living moments. "Jenny," Max whispered. "Hey big brother," she replied, her voice no longer glitching but resonant and clear. "Sorry about the dramatic exit. Becoming one with a galactic network isn't exactly something they teach in school." Max stepped forward, instinctively reaching toward the hologram, before catching himself. How are you? What are you?" Jenny's holographic form shrugged, an impossibly human gesture for a being now composed entirely of digital consciousness. "That's a metaphysical question I've been pondering myself for the past 47 days. Am I still Jenny Hartwell? Mostly. Am I something more now? Definitely. It's like," she paused, searching for words, "it's like being everywhere at once, but still having a center. I can feel the environmental systems on Arcturus Prime adjusting for the coming storm season. I can see a child on Voltoria's southern continent, struggling with her mathematics homework. I can sense a potential navigational hazard developing near the SETI wormhole, and have already rerouted 14 ships to avoid it." "You're omniscient, Doctor?" Quantum asked, medical scanner instinctively raised as if she could somehow take readings on a holographic projection of a digitized consciousness. "Not omniscient," Jenny corrected. "Just really well connected. Think of me as having the universe's best broadband and unlimited data plan." Brick, who had been silently absorbing this conversation, finally spoke up. "So, you're like a god now." Jenny's laughter filled the room, as warm and genuine as it had been in life. "Hardly. I'm just a girl with a grudge who happened to have really smart parents and an exceptional talent for coding. The digital realm was always more real to me than the physical one anyway. This is just an upgrade." Fizz, who had been monitoring readings from the quantum array, suddenly gasped. "These power signatures, Jenny, you're drawing energy from. Is that a quasar? How is that even possible?" "I've been busy," Jenny said with another digital shrug. Turns out the Voltorians weren't completely incompetent. Their deep space energy collection systems had potential, they just lacked imagination in how to apply it. Speaking of the Voltorians, her holographic face grew serious. "How's our favorite deposed tyrant adjusting to retirement?" Max couldn't help but smile at that. Former Emperor Vexlar now occupied a comfortable but secure compound on Earth's moon, where he served as a cultural liaison helping to integrate peaceful Voltorians into the new galactic community. His days were spent writing his memoirs, tending to an impressive garden of exotic fungi, and occasionally giving lectures to human university students on how not to run an empire. The title had not been his idea. "He's actually become quite philosophical about the whole thing," Max admitted. "Turns out, when you remove the neurological implants that enforce rigid hierarchical thinking, Voltorians have a natural aptitude for abstract contemplation. He's working on a treatise called The Evolutionary Disadvantages of Tyranny. I know, Jenny said with a mischievous smile. I proofread the first draft. His grammar needs work, but the ideas are surprisingly sound. A notification chimed on Fizz's console. The Galactic Council is assembling for their daily session. They're waiting for your input on the new trade routes through the Orion sector. Jenny's holographic form nodded. Duty calls. The former hegemony had some truly atrocious infrastructure planning. It's almost like they designed their supply chains to maximize oppression rather than efficiency. She paused, looking at each of them in turn, her gaze lingering longest on her brother. You know, I never planned for this outcome. The virus was supposed to destroy the Empire, not transform it. And I certainly never expected to become this. Do you regret it? Max asked quietly. Jenny considered the question seriously. No, she finally said. I can do more good this way, help more people, fix more problems. And I'm still me, just expanded. I still enjoy a good joke, still hate bullies, still think cats are superior to dogs, and still think you need a haircut. She smiled at Max's self-conscious touch to his increasingly shaggy hair. Will you stay? Rocket asked. Like this, I mean, is it permanent? As permanent as anything in this universe, Jenny replied. I'm stable. The energy systems I've established can sustain this form of existence indefinitely. And there's so much to do, Max. So many worlds that need healing after 3,000 years of exploitation. So many species rediscovering their heritage, their potential. Max nodded, understanding. Jenny had always been drawn to big problems, grand challenges. Now she had the ultimate puzzle to solve, rebuilding a galaxy. The Cooperative Council has officially requested that I serve as a kind of system administrator. Jenny continued. Not a ruler, no one wants another emperor, but a facilitator. A digital conscience to help guide the recovery. And you said yes, of course, Max said, knowing his sister too well. Jenny's hologram smiled. I said I'd think about it. I wanted to talk to my family first. The word hung in the air between them. A bridge across the seemingly unbridgeable gulf between physical and digital existence. Family. Despite everything that had changed, that fundamental connection remained. Commander Patel has been appointed as Earth's representative to the Council, Max said. She's asked me to serve as security coordinator for the cooperative. Apparently, my experience with unorthodox tactics is considered valuable. And the rest of the crew. Fizz has been offered a position at the new Galactic Technology Institute. Rocket's starting an interspecies pilot training program. Dr. Quantum is coordinating medical exchange initiatives, and Brick, I'm opening a restaurant, the hulking man announced proudly. Gonna call it The Last Stand. Fusion cuisine, human dishes with ingredients from all 17 systems. Jenny's laughter echoed through the hub. Perfect. I'll have to figure out how to create digital taste buds. Outside, a gentle chime indicated the formal start of the council session. Jenny's hologram glanced toward the sound. That's my cue. Think about the offer, Max. The cooperative could use someone who knows how to think outside the box, and I could use my brother nearby. Her form began to shimmer, preparing to transition to the council chambers. Jenny, Max called, halting her departure momentarily. The execution. You planned it all along, didn't you? You let yourself get caught, knowing exactly what would happen. Jenny's holographic features softened. I had contingencies, multiple paths to the same endpoint. The execution just happened to be the most direct route, if not the most comfortable. Worth it though. She gestured to the window, where the colorful aurora played across the sky above a world being reborn. 47 minutes to change a galaxy. Not bad for a girl with a laptop. As her hologram faded, her voice lingered in the room. See you around, big brother. I'm never far. Just check any screen, I'll be there. The hub fell silent, but not empty. Jenny's presence remained, a digital ghost in the machine, the architect of a revolution that had toppled an empire not through superior firepower or overwhelming force, but through the quintessentially human traits of adaptability, ingenuity, and sheer stubborn determination. Max moved to the window, watching as representatives of 47 species made their way to the council chambers. Former oppressors, and the formerly oppressed, now working together to build something new from the ashes of empire. All because one human girl had taken the Voltorians' dismissive assessment of humanity and turned it spectacularly against them. Humanity, fuck yeah indeed. Max murmured to himself, raising an imaginary toast to the digital entity that had once been his little sister and was now something more, a legend, a system, a guardian, spanning 17 star systems. Outside, the aurora formed a pattern that looked suspiciously like a winking face, just for a moment, before dissolving back into swirls of cosmic light. In the command center of the former flagship Indomitable Mandible, now recommissioned as the humanitarian vessel Second Chances, a small memorial plaque had been installed beside the main view screen. It bore a simple inscription that had quickly become a cautionary proverb repeated throughout the galaxy. The Voltorian Empire executed a human girl on live broadcast. 47 minutes later, their empire fell. Beneath this, in smaller text, was a line added by Max himself. Never underestimate a species that turns surviving extinction-level events into an evolutionary strategy. And below that, appearing mysteriously after the plaque's installation, in script that looked like flowing code, especially if they have access to your Wi-Fi password.